Hi classes, I hope you are doing well as we reach the end of our first week of online enrichment and review. I just wanted to start off by thanking all of you that have been watching the videos, completing the assignments. I enjoyed reading over your assignments from Monday, and today I'm going to be looking at your second assignments, ones on primary sources. And as you notice, as they're coming back, there are no grades on them, but I am providing some feedback just to kind of give you some tips on some things to maybe think about once we are completing graded work, and just some general feedback to kind of help you process the information. If you do have any questions, let me know. If you want to revise and resubmit, that's absolutely fine, and that's up to you. And I'll take another look at anything that you give me. So again, a big thank you for that. I'm glad to see so many students that are engaging in this really kind of experimental time. This is all really, really new. And to that end, I wanted to discuss something a little bit different, something different than social studies, which is online course etiquette, otherwise known as Netiquette. And this is something that might be a little bit different, right? Most of you, I know a few of you have had experience in cyber school and online learning, but for the vast majority of students from Solomon and in my classes, this is something that is new to you, and it's important to kind of, get a feel for the culture of online learning. So that's what I want to take a few minutes to discuss with you today. And again, I'm not designing this to kind of criticize the way that anybody's been communicating with me or with anybody else. And I really do just appreciate the fact that so many of you are emailing me and putting comments on the assignments and even on the videos. It's great. But these are just some things to keep in mind because this might not be the only time that this happens. And we may be in this circumstance for the rest of the year. And some of you years from now might pursue college degrees online. You never know. And as you move up through online education, there are certain expectations with how you communicate between your classmates and your teachers that might be a little bit different than the way that you're communicating online. So Netiquette, first of all, it's defined as the acceptable way to communicate over the internet. And most of you, almost all of you, maybe all of you, have been used to communicating over the internet throughout your entire lives. And even if you're new to online learning, you're definitely not new to being online. Most of you are probably very fast at communicating with others online, and you've already adjusted to different social norms that you would use when communicating with your friends or family or whoever. But when you're in an online class environment, there's expectations for communication that might be a little bit different than what you're used to through text messages and social media. And that's why I think it's important to go over this topic of netiquette today. So, some general guidelines. First of all, just like you would in an on-site class, you want to always address people with respect. This is when you're communicating with your classmates and when you're communicating with teachers. And one way to show respect across the board is just referring to people by name, right? You don't just start your communication without addressing somebody by their actual name. When you're addressing your teachers, unless they told you otherwise, you should address them by Mr., Ms., or Mrs., or whatever their preferred way of being addressed is. Right? Always use language that's clear and concise. Go back and actually read what you wrote and ask yourself, will the person I'm writing this to understand what I'm talking about? Also ask yourself, am I being repetitive? Am I going on for too long? Is the overall message I'm trying to convey getting clouded? It's always a good idea to proofread what you're writing, just like you would if you were submitting an assignment. You want to avoid slang terms, and that includes the real common abbreviations that are used all the time in text messaging. I give a couple examples here, right? Use the word you without the letter, instead of the letter U, and R, and not the letter R, right? Use two and not the number two. And the reason why I suggest that too is, when you think about it, it doesn't really take any more time, does it? Typing out 3 letters versus typing out 1 letter is not really saving you all that much time, and it makes your writing just look way more academic, more professional, more proper. And to that end, too, you want to correct spelling errors. Like I said, go back and proofread, right? The same rules of grammar that you'd use when you're writing an essay in English class should be part of your everyday communication in an online course environment. The last point, something I have trouble with, right? When you're using humor, when you're using sarcasm, sometimes that can be misinterpreted by the reader. It could come off as being rude or mean or inappropriate, and your overall intentions might be a little bit clouded. Now, it's okay to use humor. It's okay to interject some humor in your online communications, but please make sure that the reader is going to be clear that that's what you're trying to do, as opposed to having to guess and maybe taking it the wrong way and think that you're being a little bit rude or inappropriate. Emails. A lot of our communication has been through emails this week. When you get into a work environment, you'll notice that most of your communication ends up being through emails. Just some basic guidelines to make your emails a little bit more clear and a little bit more appropriate. Right? Include a subject in the subject line. Just something that gets to the gist of what you're trying to convey, like problem with assignment or something like that. Make sure that you have a body too. Somebody emailed me the other day, and it was they just put the subject line about the videos. They can't find the videos. Include some sort of note in the body as well. Don't just include a subject line. When you're communicating, same as in the general guidelines, refer to the person you're communicating with by name. That's just kind of a polite thing to do. It shows the person that you're like recognizing them as a person. And it's something that we don't necessarily always think about when we're sending emails. But it should be part of your general email habits. With your email, be brief yet clear, right? You want to give all the information that you need to give to the person, but you want to keep it as limited as you could be so as not to ramble or be repetitive or anything like that. Make sure that the reader is going to know the message that you're trying to convey. And then finally, and this one's really important, this is one I'm seeing a lot of people not do right now, but get in the habit of signing your email with your full name, first and last name. That way that we know, or the reader knows who is emailing them. This isn't so much of a problem right now because most of you are emailing me from your school accounts, so it comes up with your name attached to it. But sometimes when you have emails, addresses that don't have your full name attached to it, it becomes a little confusing as to who is emailing who. So getting in that habit of always including your full name, and even better yet, include your preferred email address or way of contact following your name, like in the signature line at the bottom of the message. And lastly, we're going to look at message and discussion boards. We haven't done online discussions yet in this class, but I'm going to give you a spoiler in that we are going to do one of these on Friday. It's not going to be anything hard. It's going to be something relaxed. It's not going to be graded, but it's going to be interactive discussion where you get to respond to a brief discussion prompt and talk back and forth with your classmates. Something that we haven't really been doing so much since we moved to this online format. So I think some interaction is a good thing, even if it's a way that might be a little bit different than we're used to. But when you're doing this, again, follow all of those general guidelines. The first and most important thing, though, is to make sure your posts apply to the question or prompt. If a teacher is putting up a discussion prompt, it's not an invitation to just go and post whatever you want to post. That could be done elsewhere. In this case, you should respond to that specific prompt. Also, when you're replying to classmates, you need to be respectful, even if you disagree. And it's certainly okay to disagree with a person in any discussion, but we want to do so in a way that recognizes their right to have an opinion and right to have a different opinion than yours. And finally, continue to use all of the proper grammar and apply the guidelines from all that were in the first slide. Now, will there be some grammar and spelling errors and other problems like that throughout the discussion forum? Sure. Some of them might even come from me and will likely come from me. But what I do ask is that everybody makes an attempt. Give your discussion post a quick once-over just to make sure that it's clear, it's clean, and relatively free of grammar errors. Now, with that, what you're going to do is you're going to take the brief true and false quiz. There's only 5 questions. It shouldn't take you all that long, and that should be it for the day. I will see all of you again tomorrow, and like I said, we'll be having an online discussion that I hope everybody participates in and enjoys. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.